Google can sometimes be a very good research. You can actually save thousands of dollars because when you're setting up a new business venture, you've got to do it smartly, you've got to do it efficiently. I would say that you have to know the industry, you have to study competition, you need to get out there. If I have decided that I want to go and, let's say, sell or launch a brand of cosmetics, I need to go and check out every where, every distributor platforms that these cosmetics can be launched from, whether be it pharmacies or it could be direct sales, it could be shop in shop, like for example, Myers selling, let's say, an Estee Lauder branch, and really check out what is happening as also who could be my likely competitors. I think understanding your industry and market is extremely important before you take the plunge to actually go in and launch a product.
Rather than being overly concerned about competitors, I think you should definitely be very aware of all your competitors. So getting information on competitors is very easy nowadays. Everybody's got a website, so you can see what people are doing. You can identify what they're trying to get across as their unique selling point is. By talking to people in the market, you can quickly find out which competitors are doing well, why do people like a particular product or company, and what do people don't like about them. And that, in essence, is what should refine your approach. Try and emulate what good things other competitors are doing, and at the same time, improve on the things that they're doing bad. If you can do that and let people know about it, that's when your business is going to be successful.
When you have an idea, when you start a business, it's you're going to be very, very fortunate not to find competitors in a very short space of time. Everybody doesn't have to have a great idea. They just need to copy your idea and do it cheaper and sometimes better. So the things to do are to keep aware of who's out there in the marketplace. And more importantly, what I do is look at continually trade journals, for example, and see what's new, what's happening in those industries, and try and stay abreast. I think a good example is Nokia. They developed their phones, they captured the dominant market share, and they just didn't watch touch phones. So they were running around with conventional button phones overnight. They went from the biggest to the smallest, not following competition.
That's a very interesting one because substitute products can sometimes kill a brilliant idea if you're not careful. If you have a brilliant idea, you've got to find some kind of USP, some kind of differential where the substitute products perhaps may not be able to kill your idea. Now, for example, Apple, when they actually launched in China, they knew that there could be products which would be coming out at probably quarter the price. But they had some pretty strong safeguards in terms of the government legalities, talking to the industry, talking to influencers, and really pushing the legal aspects of doing business. Once a customer realizes that they need to do the right thing, very rarely would the customer run off and buy products which are not which are substitute products. Having said that, legally, again, substitute products are possible, say in the pharmaceutical area. That's absolutely legal, and there's no reason why customers should not be given a choice of a product which could be a little less expensive but provides the same benefits. So there are two ways of looking at substitute products, some which are really not legal, some which are absolutely legally possible. And one has to be aware that you might face substitute products in competition.
Generally, when you're talking about substitute products, the way to avoid being affected by those is to capture maximum early market share. So you throw as much energy, capital, resources as you can to be the dominant player, and then you'll find that there's less room for substitutes to take your market share. So you grab the market and then track your journals and make sure you hold on to that market share.
You need to be aware of substitute products, but if you have positioned yourself in the market, if you found your niche, if you're emphasizing what your unique selling points are and what's good about you, then substitute products shouldn't be a huge concern. It's just something you should be aware of.
suppliers and buyers have a huge impact on the business. And I think very often people forget about that they are all your partners. How do they perceive you? How do they, for example, if you have a great relationship with your supplier and you have a rush of demand, say during the Christmas period or during a real high demand period, if you have a great partnership with your supplier, he's the first one who's going to be able to deliver your products in time or any services that they're providing to your organization. I believe that, especially for a new business startup, they need to look at all these various, let's say, their suppliers, their distributors, their investors, their customers, they're all partners in the business. Once you have that partnership approach, it's so much easier.
Suppliers and buyers probably have the most impact on your business once you get started. Buyers in my line of work are the most important aspect of business. First of all, establishing a relationship with a buyer is essential. Some buyers might be loyal, but some buyers might be just looking out for the bottom line and the next good product at the right price. So buyers pretty much hold the success of your whole business. So if you can establish a good relationship, work with them, listen to what they say, because they're going to give you the best information out of anybody. They'll tell you if you're too expensive. They'll tell you what's wrong with your product. And they'll also tell you what they like about your product. So by gathering that information and again redeveloping your approach if you're not successful is a key to success. In terms of suppliers, your suppliers can kill your business very quickly. If you're relying on your suppliers for on-time delivery, and you're missing your delivery schedules, that's going to deeply affect your business. Credit terms with suppliers is extremely important, as are the credit terms that the buyers want. So you have to match those two things up.
The industry knowledge is absolutely essential. Do your SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is such a simple tool that anybody can handle, but very often they don't. Why? Because you don't want to know your weaknesses. Why? Because you believe you are the best, but you may not necessarily be the best. So it's really a good check to do a SWOT analysis, and also not do it yourself, but I would also like to get some others to do the SWOT analysis. And then, you work out your launch position from there.
I believe one of the biggest economic factors that all business people, including new business people, need to look at is probably the Australian dollar. A large percentage of small businesses in Australia are exporters. So the Australian dollar definitely plays a major role in that. The Australian dollar is going to have a big impact on the cost of your goods as well. So in terms of people who are doing goods, the Australian dollar is definitely something to keep in mind. If you've got the right positioning of your product and you found your right niche, daily economic trends, shouldn't have a huge impact on your business. Again, something you should just be aware of.
Major economic trends that are happening in Australia: one, the technology, go online and do some amazing businesses. Two, the new audience disruption. Australia is actually a country based on migration. We are dependent on a lot of Asian countries for our economic development, and we need to build those relationships. We speak about the Asian century, and I think businesses have to understand that a lot of their customers are going to be coming from these Asian countries. And if they need to be attended to, you need to have staff internally who understand those cultural differences and be able to actually work with these new audiences. Analyzing opportunities and threats are very important. Opportunities could be, for example, the very economic trends that we are talking about could become an opportunity for you as well as a threat. Marketers who are looking at census figures and saying, okay, it's not just about today. Am I planning for 10 years hence, 20 years hence, 30 years hence? Now, if you're able to do that, then you know that your business is a sure part of growth. Whereas if you're not able to do that, that's where you go wrong.
Having a good business, you're always kind of looking at what opportunities are out there. I don't spend too much time analysing what the threats are. As long as you're kind of working on improving your business, whether it be improving your product, improving your service, improving your procedures of your company, as long as you're in a continual process of improvement, opportunities will come and you can make the most of them, and threats will come and go. But you can't do much. You can't control your threats. You can only control what you can do. New entrants are definitely a concern, and I guess everybody's a new entrant at some stage. New entrants obviously come in with less risk or less. They can take more chances. They've got less to lose. New entrants can come in and try and get into a market by offering cheap prices. They can offer extra service if they're very small. So new entrants are definitely a concern for any business, but it's the new entrants that keep an industry alive. It's what keeps making people improve. So it's a good thing, but definitely be aware. When developing an idea or opportunity, you definitely need to be aware of the government regulations, but I wouldn't let it kind of stop you or inhibit you from trying to move forward. Once you've got a good idea or product, obviously you need to be aware of what government regulations are in that industry. With my industry being health supplements, it's one of the most heavily regulated industries. So without complying with that, you're not going to be able to go far. But don't get too bogged down in these early stages. Just work on your product because that's what you know. When it comes to complying with regulatory requirements, most people are going to need to use a consultant or something at that stage. So work on your idea first and deal with the regulatory issues when the time is appropriate.